Hi guys, part 2 of Magical Basics. Let's start with 3 types of magic. Sympathetic, comparative, and directive magic. Okay, sympathetic magic is this is that. This is when we take something completely unrelated to our spell and use it as the subject of our spell. For instance, pretend you have a child and your child is having nightmares, and you want to do a spell to relieve your child's nightmares. Instead of actually doing the spell on your child, you could, for instance, take a small teddy bear and use it as your child. Do the spell on the bear as if it was your child. Comparative magic is this represents that. I know that sounds very similar to what I just said, but bear with me. This is when we create a charm by establishing a relationship between 2 completely unrelated objects or ideas or what have you. So, for instance, you are looking for some financial aid. We could take some seeds or a small plant and put a charm on them to tie them to our finances. We plant the seeds or the plant, and as it grows, so does our finances. In sympathetic magic, the bear is the child. In comparative magic, our finances are tied to the plant. That's the difference. Then you have directive magic, and that is this affects that. So, a simple way of doing that is the spoken word. My spoken word affects whatever I'm doing my spell on. Also, casting. We direct energy when we cast a circle. That is directive magic, which takes me to casting. Of course, casting is the creation of sacred or protected space for us to work in, do ritual, spellcraft, what have you. There are many methods of casting. There are people who do it purely through visualization. Many people use a wand or an athame to cast circle, direct energy. During ritual on the beach, I have literally drawn a circle in the sand. I've participated in rituals where we made a circle out of flowers and herbs. You can make them out of stones, crystals, shells, what have you. Personally, I always energetically cast over top of any physical circle that is created. That's my own personal preference. It's an individual choice. And of course, we cast circle to create a safe and stable space and energy for our work. And it's kind of common sense, but once we're done with our work, we should open our circle, clean up our energy, and ground it back into the earth. Of course, after casting, in my experience, most people call the quarters. What do I mean by call the quarters? Calling in protection and energy from the cardinal directions. And there are many methods to do this. Some people may just call the quarter, may just call the 4 directions. Some people will call the elemental influence. Some people will call in specific beings that they associate with the cardinal directions that embody the properties and influences of these directions. Again, it's a personal choice. And typically they're called in to ground and guard the circle and our work. In my experience, every single person, including myself, that I've ever seen call the quarters, physically turns to the direction and calls the protective energy or what have you of their choosing to ground, guard, bless the circle and their work. In my opinion, it's very important to respectfully release and express gratitude to the quarters before you open your circle and clean up and ground your energy. Let's talk about raising power. Magical power, magic, is in everything. It's in the trees, it's in the moon, it's in the stars, the grass, the animals. It's inside us. It's in everything, always, eternally. It is vital that we open ourselves up to the limitless source of magic, of energy around us when we're raising power or doing spellcraft or doing any kind of energy work, really. I don't care if you're raising power in ritual or you're doing Reiki. We need to open ourselves up to the energy, magical power that's all around us. This is important for two reasons. Firstly, we run the risk of depleting our own energy. And secondly, we may inadvertently limit our own magic. Of course, there are various methods for this as well. Some people like to dance. There's drumming, chanting, singing, breathing exercises, visualization. I personally love to start slowly walking around the circle and build speed until we're running. That's one of my favorites. And of course, the next thing that's ultimately important is to focus and direct that energy. And two very simple ways to do that, of course, are through visualization and intent and through spoken word. It's really important that we cleanse and ground and center before and after ritual and spellcraft. Again, this is a personal choice, and while I feel it's important to cleanse before, I don't typically feel like I need to cleanse after, and sometimes I ground after ritual and spellcraft, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just ride that high. So again, this is going to be a personal choice. It's going to depend on, what I'm doing that day, what I have going on, but don't ever feel like when someone says this must be done this way, that it must be done that way. It's not true. It's your practice. You decide how you do it. Just kind of maybe listen to other people, take it with a grain of salt and hold it in the back of your mind while you do what you do. And if, let's say you did ritual or spellcraft and you didn't ground afterward and you didn't feel good the rest of the day, you felt loopy or whatever, you have it in the back of your head, next time let me try and ground. And maybe that works for you and you need to ground every time, but not everybody is going to. And that goes for anything in the craft or on a spiritual path, period. It's your own personal path and you have to decide what works for you. I will suggest this though, having a ritualistic element to your work. Of course, ritual is ritualistic, but even in spellcraft, if you have a certain procedure you follow to get things ready or a certain order you do things in, having some form of ritual, even in our spellcraft, isn't necessary, but it can be quite beneficial because it sets a tone. Oh, it's time to do magic. For instance, if I smell a dragon's blood incense, I'm automatically like, oh, magic. Now, I burn them even when I'm not doing ritual or spellcraft, but it doesn't matter. As soon as I light it, I'm like, ooh, magic. It's like a trigger. It's time to work magic. And it's like a switch. The rest of the world can go away and I can completely focus all of my attention. I'm not thinking about what errands I have to run or what have you. I'm totally focused on what it is I'm doing. And like I said, as it's not necessary, it can be quite beneficial. Well, I hope that was even slightly illuminating. If you're into it, please like and subscribe. And until next time, much love and gratitude.